Myles B. Caggins, the third, joins us now from New York City. He's a retired U.S. Army colonel and a senior fellow at the New Lines Institute. He served as spokesman for the U.S.-led coalition in Iraq and Syria. Thank you very much for your time. Not a lot of details available about this task force. From your experience, what do you think its scope will be in duration and operations?
Good afternoon, Elizabeth, and happy holidays, though this is a challenging time in the world. We've seen a extensive travel schedule of U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin traveling throughout the Middle East and Gulf region. Right now, as he has publicly stated, as you have mentioned, there is a international coalition forming. And the benefit of an international coalition are several. One, it adds more legitimacy to the process of defending shipping lanes through the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. Two, there's more capability that will be brought by these varied nations, including the UK and Canada and Bahrain through the process. And three, everybody is in this together. More than 12 to 15% of global shipping commerce travels through the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. So the entire world has a stake in this matter.
But not everyone is in the coalition, are there? The only country in the region is Bahrain, and we know that the U.S. has a very significant naval presence there. The countries which border the Red Sea, the United States allies, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, are not joining.
Well, as we've seen, there have been differing views. And of course, Yemen has announced that they are conducting these military aggressions, attacks, kidnapping of commercial shipping vessels as a response to Israel's war in Gaza. There's a parallel effort happening at the United Nations led by U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, where she is attempting to rally nations at the UN to condemn Yemen and its attacks on these commercial shipping vessels. So over time, I anticipate we will see this international coalition grow as Yemen continues its aggression.
Okay, from what we know of who's involved so far, you were speaking about the capabilities. How involved do you think all the countries in the force will be in targeting Houthi positions?
Well, each country will make its own announcements of what ships it will bring. Of course, the United States has fleets all across the world and the most advanced ships. But there are times where we'll see other countries bring in ships that, for instance, can help with logistics, or some that will help with communications and sophisticated radar systems, or sometimes as simple as escorts of the commercial vessels that are still going through the Red Sea. As this process evolves, there's going to be decisions that this international coalition will have. One of them, as you mentioned, is what happens if Yemen makes an attack on a Canadian vessel? What is the response? Does the United States and the naval coalition, do they follow rules of NATO? Are there separate rules? Are there different rules of engagement? And then, of course, these ships have the right to defend themselves, and they're attempting to keep the free flow of commerce and freedom of navigation. But will they attack into Yemen to destroy Yemen's capability
do you think
to continue
Do you think they will? What has this task force been formed to do?
Secretary of Defense did not announce that there is going to be an offensive approach, but I anticipate, as Yemen has publicly stated, you cited their spokesman on X, Twitter, they will continue these attacks. And if there is a point where there are additional ships that are damaged, or more sailors who are kidnapped and held for ransom, there's likely to be a kinetic response from the United States and the other international forces as part of this coalition.
And given that, just how dangerous a situation are we in now? We've heard many countries, including the United States, talk about avoiding the war in Gaza, avoiding a wider regional conflagration, but doesn't the forming of a multinational task force in this region, could it not lead to that?
We've seen Iran advance its agenda by arming and directing its proxies, its militias in Iraq and Syria to attack bases that host U.S. and anti-ISIS coalition forces. But we've seen now the Iranian armed Houthis conduct more than 100 attacks against commercial shipping vessels in their region. So there is a greater chance of escalation, but the International Shipping Coalition, Operation Prosperity Garden, is important to give confidence to these commercial vessels that they can sail freely through the Suez Canal, through the Red Sea, and continue the normal flow of commerce that benefits the world.
All right, that is retired U.S. Army Colonel and Senior Fellow at the New Lines Institute, Myles B. Caggins III. Thank you for your time.